Good late morning, everyone. The reason I'm on doing this update is not because of the drop we've had, because we knew a drop was coming in precious metals and gold, which is why we have liquidated our positions prior to this whole thing happening. But what I see that just happened here is not only did we not come down to the trend line and hold it for gold, but I drew out a rising channel and we've broken down out of the rising channel. And this suggests about another, if I wanted to guess properly, because we've never successfully back tested the huge pattern breakout, it would seem to suggest to me that gold is on pace here for about a 10.5% correction, or a $268 correction from here, and that puts you around $2,400. I believe that's a fair assessment. I believe it's a real fair assessment, actually. And I've been nervous the last week and a half or so that this was not to this level. I thought we would come down and we would see it at 2,700 and it might bounce around, but it came right through that, which suggests to me that that rising channel now has to take precedent, and that uptrend from the time the rising channel started, now that that's been broken and you put the totality of the rising channel, it makes things a little dicey here. So we'll go over some technical analysis here and we'll discuss what to expect going forward. And I promise I'll talk about the XRP Bullflag that has formed, and you know what can happen if it plays out, and how gold can change the nuance here and like the fundamental, movement here. But we'll take a look at this. Let me timestamp this. We should get a little bit of upward volatility here with gold after such a big drop, but I don't know how much of it's going to be able to fight back. We have earnings tomorrow on like B2 Gold, First Majestic, Fortuna, a lot of the mining stocks. And I believe, and don't get mad at me, but I believe that Newmont Mining was not a one-off event when it dropped 20% after earnings. And I wholeheartedly expect some of these to drop more than we might expect. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it was a hell of a ride for the last 9 months or 8 months. I was able to turn 5,500, and most of you too that were watching, to over 17,000. So, and now I would have lost a decent amount of it in the last week and a half or so from when we liquidated our positions. Fortuna Silver Mines was up at $5.28 or 38, I can't remember. First Majestic was at $7.60, so that was a big dump right there for us if we would have held that. And B2 Gold was up at $3.38, but I had 3,000 shares, and I wrote it from $2.38. And never feel bad about taking your profit. And I was able to cha-ching some today, but now I have to rely on my technicals. And the reason I'm not buying back in yet, and this could blow up in my face, let me be honest with everybody, but I'm going to trust what I'm seeing. And unless it reverses what I'm seeing, I'm just going to have the patience. I'm going to have the understanding of what I'm seeing, and we're going to see how it plays out. So good late morning, 10:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So let's real quickly go down here to XRP, and I'm only going to look at this for 20 seconds because I just want to show you, like in the weekly, we have a nice reversal. But in the, I believe it's easiest to see. It's easy to see in a lot of time frames, but for everybody to see, we have this Bullflag that's formed here, and we back tested the 20-day and the hourly. That's what you want to do. The golden cross here is down at 52 cents. I don't know if it could come all the way back down there right now, because it might invalidate some of this. It might come up and then meet the golden cross somewhere down the road a little bit, but we'll see. Because it looks like we have a Bullflag filled out here. And if this Bullflag does play out, and it could come down for further consolidation, but it seems like now we're holding this area 52.6. We back tested, and now it looks like we go up to the next target, and it's not 58 cents. The next target would be It's actually on the cup and handle at 57.33 cents. So I'm just curious here, just out of curiosity, if this bull flag plays out, which, you know, the market is cooperating, XRP's lagging behind just a tad. Where would we say the breakout would happen? It's not there, not there. Let's say just from right here. So this would get you up close. So you'd be looking at coming up to at least finish this 56 cents. This makes good sense here. This actually makes good sense, and I'll just say it for one reason. If it's gonna do it, because you could finish off this little cup here. So that actually would make sense. We'll see if it plays out in a bull flag fashion. Obviously, if you're leverage trading and you're trying to take advantage, it can backfire. So be cautious if you're a spot trader. That is, let's see. If this plays up to that area for a spot trade, this should get anywhere between 5 and 13% roughly, but it all depends on the momentum that continues through the day. So you kind of just have to let it play out. Where was it at when we left it? 53, anywhere between, it's like 53, we'll call it 53.10 because that's the perpetual futures market. But anyhow, back to gold. So, but I wanted to make sure to let everybody know what was going on with XRP so you could see it and hear it from me. Gold right now, and I suspect we could have a little bit of a rebound today. We have this major, ladies and gentlemen, major rising channel here, which we've fallen outside of. And that's at 2,000, and let's call it, we hit it right here, right? Let's say we hit it by tomorrow. Let's get our price labels on. And like, there's two ways of looking at these channels, okay? So 2,710. Now there's two ways you can look at this. Obviously, well, not obviously, because not everybody's going to know this. You start to work on some things here, right? So now you start to look at the pure diameter of this rising channel. It is fucking massive. Excuse my French. It's massive. We can actually refine this into a much better, because in the smaller time frames it's harder to see when I'm on my phone, but now I can measure it perfectly because now we have it forming something like this. But it came up all the way through here, so the integrity of this stayed the entire way. From like right here, it stayed the whole way. From that first move up, the integrity stayed within that channel. Every time it bounced off, it came back through. And then the uptrend, let's just make sure that I did this at the exact spot it should be, because I suspect I probably didn't, because there was a wick right here. So if we look at that, we look at it there, it did pretty much like that. Well, actually, it hit right there. So we could be honest and say it did that. I mean, it formed a nice channel, and now it came below the channel. So actually, it's a little lower than 2,710. It's at 2,699. So now the first target here, because you're just going to do a general analysis here. You're like, well, how wide is this? And that's exactly why I remeasured it so that I could see, because it looked a little bit too wide. $2,636. That's a good short target from where it fell through. But in totality, if this, let's just say it breaks this, I mean, the reason why I think that we could have a 268 point drop roughly is the price of gold, and if we or silver, we have to go way back. We had this uptrending support. Here, let me show you. So we had a pattern that we started with the uptrend going like this. We had a resistance, and we finally broke out here. We have not back tested the entirety of this. And the reason why that's important for gold is because there's a massive target. Let me get rid of some of this. Oh no, that's the rising channel. We got to keep that. We'll get rid of this. But the reason why this is important is because at some point, if you hold true here, And I believe in time we're going to end up hitting these targets. So don't think this is I'm not measuring this by technical analysis, because I sure as hell am. And I'm not using the top marker because we only hit support here and resistance there. We never came down after hitting the third resistance to a third support, you know, from the top structure. So I think that'd be improper to measure that diameter, or the width at least. Whoops. So basically what I'm saying is we hit you could have started, but we hit support, resistance, so we can measure it. We can't measure it to there because we never came back down to support to measure the whole width. So that's why we're going to do it like this. You come back and properly back test this. And remember our targets from before? Let's say we properly come back and back test. What is this? In December. Let's say we come back by December. That would give you a target of 4,115. And I believe that's going to happen in time. So I think I don't think there's anything wrong with this analysis. I really don't. I think we're just going to front run this. And let's just pull this over here so we can just see it within our framework. I think this could throw a lot of people off. I think this could throw a lot of people off, especially if you've been watching gold and silver. But I think it makes sense. Trump's in. Some of the pressure's off. Some of the countries are, you know, it's the initial reaction here. I would expect gold to sell off a lot more. And 23.96 seems fair to me. We've had such a big run up that from the top back down, that's only 14%. So you're just in corrective territory. And then you bounce off of it. I think this is going to present a milestone opportunity here if this plays out for commodities. And silver, I've already got marked out where I believe it's going to fall if it do play out like this. And remember, it was a 14% drop in totality with gold. Silver from the top, I believe it brings it right here to around $29.71 is where it's targeting. And it has not back tested outside of a small back test, but this would be the grand back test here of a, you know, a short-term breakout. But this would be where you would have the hopes that it would hold this, because if you have to come back and back test the grand, it could be a little different. But this is what I foresee playing out. And for those reasons, I set up some targets for myself, which may not play out. I don't know. I'm not a wizard, so I'm not exactly sure if it'll play out or if gold will play out. But for B2 gold, it seems to line up with that. If it plays like this, but there's no guarantee, because B2 gold still has a back test that's held. If they have better than expected earnings tomorrow, we could see a slingshot, which I still expect to happen at some point. But a lot's going to be decided right here. Right here. Right where we're at. Like literally right where we're at. A lot's going to be decided. If it gets rejected here, it's not a good sign. If it breaks past here and it holds, where's this at? In real time. What is this? November 11th. So $3.20 right now. If it fails, because what ended up happening here, and it's like a lot of these, after you start looking at them, we're starting to form rising wedges, it looks like to me. And rising wedges are bearish at the top. They're bearish consolidations once you get to the top. It didn't start out in a rising wedge, but it certainly seems like that's what it's starting to form at the back end of this. So then when you start looking at this, because I'm not going to do it without any kind of rhyme or reason, right? We want to think we're making sense at least. The rejection here, I mean, so now let's modify the target. $2.87 if this actually rejects here. And that would make sense with a gold consolidation. It would, and it would make sense with the earnings miss across the board, but I don't want it necessarily to happen. It's just I see big opportunity if it does. So for those reasons, you know, this is what I feel like is going to happen. And that's my understanding of what I'm seeing. So until something changes, I have to go by my understanding. The first zone to buy back here was $6.60. As you guys know, we talked about it, and then we said we'd see how it goes. And then the grand target would be, okay, well, we've created a monster inverse head and shoulders, which is not completely formed yet on the inverse right arm. So now I'm just going with what I see. Left shoulder, head. This would have to come down here and fulfill, you know, at least something to make that right arm. So I think $5.74 could be a proper understanding here, because you come up, come down, come around, and then when you look at that, you're like, holy fuck. You know, if it actually plays out, excuse my friend. So that's what I'm seeing there. Not saying it's going to play out. This is just, when I'm looking at this, it's starting to feel like that. And like here, feels like a rising wedge to me. Like they feel like these are rising wedges, which are bearish consolidations. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm seeing something wrong, and I would love to see the audience. If you guys see something different than me, I would love to hear your thinking, because this is a rather long update and I'm going to release it. And we'll take one more look at XRP to see if that bull flag stayed intact or not. At least if it looks like it's going to, or if it, because I'm interested. You know, I like seeing it. I like seeing it. It makes it interesting. Makes today interesting. But I got to release this because I got to pick up my son here at 11:20. I got to leave the house. So with Fortuna Silver Mines, $3.57. But have the understanding, if it does break this, because we already got a rejection here, normally it comes back down all the way to where it started in the pattern uptrend. So that could bring it to 287. That's what I mean. I see something big coming, and I'd rather just sit back and watch exactly how the market, because I believe a big manipulated event is going to happen here. We know a lot of countries are going to buy gold here because they don't want to be on the dollar anymore. But they never want to pay top dollar. So I've been waiting for this to happen for the last like week and a half, and it just is lining up right now. So be very aware of what's going on. XRP is still in the exact same spot as when we started. If this bull flag plays out, which it looks like a nice bull flag here, but you know, you never know. It's on top of the 4-hourly right now. But if it breaks down, you know, obviously it's not going to play out if it breaks down, but looks like a bull flag. But with XRP, you never quite can tell. Have a blessed day, everybody.